Hello everyone, this is Venom Geek Media here, and today we're here with another Bionicle MOC vlog. Today we are looking at Kerox, son of Roxanna. Now, some of you may realise that I already did a video on this guy, and I submitted him in a MOC contest, but that was just kind of like a spotlight, mostly just showing off. This is a full detailed look at him, a critique of him, so it's a bit more in depth. So, I mean, let's just get right into it. Right, he is the son of Roxanna. If you don't know who Roxanna is, you probably haven't watched any of my other videos, because she is the #1 viewed on my channel. Just saying, that's how you get views on a Bionicle video. Make from that what you will. Yeah, so he is her son, firstborn. Not exactly the best son and heir a royal could wish for. He's just a bit of an idiot. He's not particularly good in terms of ruling or leading, but he is very good at fighting, and he does enjoy his fighting. He's a bit crude as a personality. So in that way he's a disappointment, but she just uses him as a blunt instrument, as an almost practically expendable muscle. She knows if she sends him into battle against, reasonably unskilled opponents, he'll crush them. Against more skilled opponents, yeah, that's when he starts to kind of show his failings. But let's talk about him. So he's a Vortex, evidently, and as a male Vortex, I thought, well, female Vortex are very feminine, so I'm guessing male Vortex must be fairly masculine. So yeah, so I built him, it's quite big and masculine and muscular. He's bigger than Roxanna, only just, and certainly doesn't have the same presence as her. But, you can see his Vortex, he's got his head. He has a standard Vortex head, but I think that's really pressing the limit on terms of colours. Basically, I set out with this guy to make something big, a proper Titan. So let's just run through some of his features. So obviously he has the movable jaw, which is pretty standard for Vortex. On this arm, he has just a pretty standard blade, and he has his claw. And then on the other arm, he has mounted a Kodak blaster, just kind of, as a sort of machine gun sort of thing. As well as that, he has, you can see this wire, that's sort of an implant, kind of to give him tactical displays, and then hidden on his back are two very powerful laser cannons that he would just, fold out, for use against in-place enemies, and one of them has a, come on, the trouble is fitting him in the blinking frame, because he's so big, and as you can see, he's got sort of this eyepiece that helps him target the enemy. And then going further down, he's just got a lot of armour covering him. He also has these sort of jet boots, which give him a sort of a charge into battle. He's certainly not fast, but those give him a real big, boof, power, to hit. So yeah, in terms of the build, he's, I suppose what you'd say, a fairly standard Titan build. Certainly sort of a very reminiscent of those sort of brute builds, as in guys that weren't very big and weren't very tall, but were quite, wide and bulky. So, comparable to a better done Krekker, a less awkward looking Krekker. Only just, but, that's partly deliberate, as I almost did an homage to the awkwardness of Krekker. And Axon, especially with the red. So how did I do all this? Well, essentially it's just I take the Kongumari base build that was also used on Puhatu Nuva for the Fantoka. That gives him a very broad stature, but keeps his torso very squat. So I kind of thought, well, let's try and strike a balance here. Let's make him look at least reasonably proportioned. So that is where kind of the main structure comes in, and I think that's more easily seen from the back of the model. If that wasn't covering, I'll just pop that off. Essentially, I have put in Technic beams and Technic beams all over the place, just to kind of sustain the skeleton. Yeah, I mean it's a thin veil to cover the very sort of ugly structure of the back, but you know, it works. And again, it's the thing is looking big and menacing, and he does that certainly very well. So that's it's pretty, you know, standard, what you'd expect. And then I also used a Metro connector piece to hold together these two sort of Borok limbs, and these are literally just there to kind of, if you look at the front, they just pad out the torso. They just make him that little bit chunkier, give a bit more of a smooth curvature to his body shape, rather than it being sort of all angular and sudden, the changes. It makes them more kind of natural. And then his shoulders, as you can see, are just red Toamata feet, which I then use to mount these big cannons on, which are obviously just Varki stun stuff, so I'll just pop them back as they're getting in the way. Kerox, why are you so awkward? There we go. And they actually fall away quite nicely. But yeah, and then also you kind of have the Kalma foot, and that just is a great torso piece. I really like using that as a torso piece because it's quite big, quite broad, and it's a bit of a different texture, isn't it? And that kind of just, you know, helps cover. It almost looks like he's almost bursting out of his armor, like his armor isn't quite big enough for him. He's almost a bit, reminds me kind of like Rictus from Mad Max Furiosa Road, you know, the bad guy's son dude. I mean, like, and that's probably true because Furiosa would beat the living shit out of this guy. He would not stand a chance. Yeah, and then you've also just got these silver jaw pieces just to kind of give him a bit of decoration and add the silver into the colour scheme some more. You then have the claw piece from Toa Nuva, and then these silver sort of engine pieces make up the upper part of it, which is pretty standard for a lot of early Titans. In terms of like the leg build, that is again fairly simple for a Titan. You know, you get that piece, and then have that, and then have that. Yeah, I'm not making any sense, but you see what I'm getting at. If you know early Titans, you know what they're like. That's kind of what they're like. And then on the front, I've kind of given him the Metro shoulder piece, just to get him to kind of bulk him up, and add the red, make sure that carries right down. It does even with these sort of blades. That helps with the colour scheme, and so it carries it down. So, yeah, that's him. In terms of pros and cons, his pros, he's very big. He's very big, and I'd say a very impressive build. Yeah, impressive is a term I would use for him. He intimidates, which is good. He creates an impression, certainly. But then, his build is, well, under further scrutiny, very inelegant and obvious in a lot of ways. His colour scheme isn't entirely consistent and features a large hodgepodge of colours. It is relatively consistent, but not nearly as consistent as it really ought to be. I should really pare it down, but it's due to the availability of pieces. Blue pins. Red axles are excusable in this instance because he's red, but the blue pins certainly really do come out on this one. Boy. So there's that. It kind of has a non-weapon here. It's just there, not really in use, which corresponds with the character, but doesn't mean it's excusable. Yeah, and the structure up here and the torso kind of holds together, but it is seconds away from falling apart any one moment. It's a very high tension structure up here. It's not going to fall apart on you. It's very sturdy, but every piece in there is on high tension. But yeah, so those are my thoughts on him. What are yours? Please let me know in the comments below. I will attach some photos at the end, and I will see you guys in the next video.